you are going to end up with a big red X next to your name if you ghosted them. I mean, who wants to partner with someone who, when things get tough, they stop communicating?
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Feedback. My name is Terry Coker, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, franchise consultant Ray Fanning. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Terry. How are you today?
Living the dream, buddy. Living the dream. How about you?
You and me both.
Yeah. Well, here's what we do on these episodes. We reach into our hypothetical mailbag and we pull out a question that you submitted because we do FAQs from the world of franchising. So is there something in the mailbag this week, Ray, that one of our viewers wants answered?
Terry, there is. There always is. That's the good
thing. Yeah.
There's always lots of questions.
Our viewers are the best. They regularly send in questions for us. Thank you so much.
Yes, and please do so. There's no bad questions. We'd like to hear about them all.
Yeah, go down to the comment box and just say, hey guys, I have a question about this, and we'll answer it.
All right. Great question. Usually they are. Great question. This question has to do with a person who's had a significant life event, Terry. It's caused them to kind of pull off the highway a little bit. They're not communicating with the companies, the franchisors that they're looking at right now.
So
as a coach,
let me make sure I understand. They've engaged with you and gone through the strategy process, and you've introduced them to franchise companies.
Yes, they've been introduced to franchise companies, and now they're trying to figure out what the next step is. It's a sad situation sometimes when things happen in your life, and there's how you deal with it. So now they're at the point where they are introduced. They have been doing some investigation, but they're not communicating currently with those options.
All right. So life happened, right?
Life happened.
And life happens. You know, we always tell the people that we work with, life is going to happen, okay, during this investigation. So keep the lines of communication open, okay? My counsel would be, a lot of people in our industry use a dating analogy for a stranger meeting a franchise company and a franchisor meeting, a candidate who's a stranger. And so I think the dating analogy applies in this situation, right? You're learning about each other. You're trying to decide, if there's enough there on both sides, to continue the relationship. And it's important to understand that franchise investigations are a mutual evaluation. So the franchise company is looking at the candidate as closely as the candidate is looking at them. So when a life event happens and you quit communicating with the franchise company, it's like being ghosted in dating. You don't know what's going on. You're like, well, do they like me? Do they not like me? And, unfortunately, on our side of the equation, when somebody doesn't communicate, we feel ghosted. And even more unfortunate is when somebody decides to end an investigation, they don't do the courtesy of letting everybody know. They just go away and don't come back. So this is what's going through the mind of the franchise company. It's like, okay, they're gone. And usually it's not the case. And so keep the lines of communication open. Don't ghost would be what goes through my mind. How about you, Ray?
Terry, a lot of what you said is almost exactly what I said. My advice to the candidate, first of all, was life happens. And we expect that as you're going through the due diligence process in order to make an educated decision. So life happened. They had a life event. The question I had for them was, what's next? They're pretty convinced that they're going to be a business owner. And I agree. I think from what I see, I think they will be a business owner. My question to them was, is it now? We don't know. Is it now? So what's next? And I did use an analogy with them, but it was a little bit more to do with the communication side of it, which is either way you want to communicate. It's okay to put an investigation on hold. But to ghost them, to use your words, to ghost them is not a good idea. That lack of communication can cause people, in my experience, can cause people to lose an opportunity. And it might not be now. Matter of fact, I don't think it is for these people. I don't think it's going to be now. But the options that they're looking at, if they're ghosted, really good franchise companies are grading you while you're grading them. They really are. You're going to end up with a big red X next to your name if you ghosted them. I mean, who wants to partner with someone who, when things get tough, they stop communicating? That's a recipe for failure, really is.
And it's a sign that franchise companies look for in the investigation process. When the communication goes wrong, it says to them, oh, maybe this isn't the right fit. And since this is a mutual evaluation on both sides, once the franchise company closes the file, boy, it's hard to get back open. It is hard to get back open. It's much easier to just leave it open with minimal communication than it is to try and get it back open. So
agreed. What my last suggestion, my last coaching advice to them was to communicate directly with those franchise companies. And if they're not ready to look at it now, better to say that, like, I need to put it on hold. I will come back. Let's check in the first quarter. Let's check in the second. Communicate it. Don't just let it happen. Don't think it's just going to go away, because you could be limiting yourself in the future when you potentially want company A, B, or C, and they don't want you. And sometimes you run into the personality. I don't know if you ever have, Terry, where you run into the personality of someone who thinks, oh no, I'll show up later and they'll want me then. And unfortunately, my experience has been that I've worked with people who have had that thought process and have gone back. Now I'm ready. Here I am, and they don't want to talk to that partner because they don't. They've learned something about him, and they're not going to invite him into their team.
And that happens in a sales organization versus a recruiting organization. And we're going to come back and talk about that in our next episode. So keep an eye on your news feed. We're going to talk about a franchise sales organization versus a franchise recruiting organization. And you just gave your people and everybody watching today, our viewers, great counsel, Ray. And to our viewers, great question. Okay. Down in the comment box and leave us more questions. We love our viewers. We love our questions. And if you want to talk to us, send us a direct message. Just leave us a note and we'll jump on the phone with you. All right. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Terry. Have a great day.
You bet. You too.